Good morning, ladies. It is Wednesday again, and I'm sorry I missed you last week, but I had something come up medically. Everything's fine. I hope you had a good week. I went to the Joyce Meyer conference, and it was really good. In fact, at the end of our classes, I'm going to share with you what I'm going to teach next fall, and I'm excited about it. This morning when I was walking, God reminded me of something, so I wrote this down, and I want to share it with you. 3 different verses that will kind of preface our class today. And we are in class 36 today. The first is John 1, verse 1 and verse 14. In the beginning was the Word. The Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That is key. This Word is God. And the Word became flesh, meaning Jesus was the Word in flesh and bones. And the Word became flesh and dwelt with us, and we beheld his glory. Glory as of the only begotten from the Father, full of grace and truth. And then Psalm 111, verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all those who do his commandments. Psalm 112, verse 1 and 2. How blessed is the man who fears the Lord, who greatly delights in his commandments. His descendants will be mighty on earth. The generation of the upright will be blessed. Ladies, do you want to know why we need to fear the Lord? Because when we fear him, we know we respect him, and that's what your children need to do with you. Have a healthy fear of disobedience. Not tremble when you come in. That's not what God's talking about here. My sister told me when, I was working with her on some issues she had, and she said, now I really fear God in a healthy way, and I know he sees me, and it stops me from doing anything because I know he's watching me. And remember, one of his names is El Roi, R-O-I, a God who sees. Okay, I want to share with you, last class, we talked about using the rod as a discipline for our children. Now, a rod is, and I told you, a paint stir stick, and look at how thin it is. When it hits the bottom, it stings. Or a switch. This I just got, it's very thin, but when you strike with it, it stings. It doesn't damage the child, but it stings. So, this is what you're going to use to discipline your children. You never threaten unless you're going to take action. If you threaten, and don't follow through, you're going to create frustration in your child and even unhappiness. The child won't know when to obey and when not to obey. So we want to carry through. It's better not to say anything than to say it and not follow through. So you can ask God to help you with that. And we're going in the next class to talk about the 4 enemies that are enemies of good discipline. That's why we need to work on our own life first, because that affects how we discipline our children. Okay, what about when you're away from the home? You never are away without having your little paint stir stick or your switch. And I took it with me. I put it in the visor of my car. I had one in the bedroom. And this is a funny story. Jamie, my daughter-in-law, Alexandra, saw that Jamie had the paint stir stick on her bedstand, and Jamie woke up and saw Alex taking the paint stir stick. Mommy, you don't need this. It was so cute. She knew that was there all the time. So you want to have several of them. Okay, another thing, you can put it in your purse, you can put it in the visor of your car, but you always take it with you, and your children know there's no safety place where they cannot be disciplined, because if they're misbehaving in the mall, You bend down like I told you. If you don't stop this, I'm going to take you out to the car and I'm going to give you a spanking. You just whisper in their ear and you remove them from people because it's a private thing. You don't want to humiliate them in front of other people. Okay, and one of the most dangerous things is misbehavior of your child in the car. And how do you prevent that? I would tell my children before we would go anywhere. You see this paint stir stick? Mom has it with me. And if you misbehave in the car, I am going to stop the car, pull over, and I'm going to discipline you. It isn't a good idea, you know this, where you turn back and try and discipline. No, you'll get in a car crash that way. So you tell them ahead of time. And then if you're going to be gone for any length of time or any time in the car, bring snacks, maybe a couple games, something to drink as well, because you want to be prepared all the time. You have to think ahead. Okay, and when you don't follow through with the discipline, Shirley believed this, and I do too. It creates a root of bitterness in that child. Hebrews 12:15. See to it that no one comes short of the grace of God, and that no root of bitterness springing up causes trouble, and by it many be defiled. That child that you love and adore, and you think, well, is there like a wall coming between us? Check your discipline, ladies. Check it. If you're not consistent, that child gets distant from you, builds up a wall. A well-disciplined child is a child that's going to love you and respect you. And I thought of something. You know, the Columbine shooters, when they reported on their home life, I bet if I could go in there and interview the mother, her son was left to himself a lot. And you train a child and teach them, and you have to love them and discipline them the right way. If you haven't dealt with anger in yourself, you're going to have explosive kinds of anger, and it will come out at your children. That's not God's discipline. That's punishment. Remember, we talked about that. There's another quote I want to give you. In the beginning classes, I talked about a psychologist. He's not a Christian, but he wrote a book called Reality Therapy. I think his name was William Glasser. And instead of the Freudian psychology where you blame, no, he had responsible psychology, that we are responsible for our own actions. And it gives a child a release almost to know that they're being held responsible for how they act. Let's see. The responsible parent. Notice the word responsible. It means that you are responsible for your own son or daughter, and you have involvement in their life. And you love them and you discipline them. And that's two key ingredients. And you're not going to love them with your own love, because we all get frustrated and our love is conditional. You're going to love them with God's love, that it will go through no matter how you feel. If you're tired, if you really feel lazy, if you're sick, if you don't have time, if you're busy, you're going to do it because God commands you to do it, and you're going to give an account for that child. Okay, let me tell you another thing. There is suffering on your part when you discipline your child. Parents have to be willing to suffer the pain of your child's intense anger, and some children have more anger than others. They're explosive. And if you haven't dealt with your own issues, you'll be almost afraid of their response. No. You know that you're not going to be their friend. The world teaches that. So many mothers I hear are trying to be the friends to their little children. No, you're their mother. They have their own friends. So you're going to hold them to a responsible course in their life. And you're training them. Also, this is a key ingredient in discipline. You never want to appeal to their emotions. Oh, when you do that, Mariah, it makes mommy feel bad. No, you want to appeal to her conscience. Is what you did right in God's eyes? What does God say? Because if you appeal to their emotions, you know what's going to happen? Their friends, they're going to react to their friends the way their friends feel and change their behavior because of maybe an emotion. Oh, I don't want to upset my friend. Or, oh, I don't want to do this because I'll make her mad. No, you want to teach your child and train them by, was that the right thing to do? And I'll give you an example. Say your daughter, Layla, is making fun of her brother Riley, and Riley gets angry and hits her with whatever toy he has. He's younger. You don't want to say, now how did that, Layla, how did that make Riley feel? No, you want to say, Layla, God says we're to love one another and do good to each other. Was that good, making fun of him? Was that good to him? And you want to appeal to her conscience because that's what you're training her in. And then with Riley, you want to say, Riley, even though Layla hurt your feelings and made you mad, was it right to hit her? No. God says we're to love our brothers and sisters. No matter what they do, you can come to me and tell me when something's wrong. Don't you take action by just hitting her back. See, you want to train them. And I know there's a saying that says, where there's siblings, there will be quibblings. There's always going to be that. And that's why, mommies, you need to have your time alone with God in the morning. You will not have the energy, the strength, the endurance to do the right disciplining that you need to discipline every day. You're going to faint if you're trying to do it in your own strength. And if you've adopted a child, you have further issues. But you want to give some leeway to that child, but you don't want to put the other children embitter them or make them feel that they're not as loved as this one you're dealing with. So you need to explain to your children, okay, this one has had a hard time. I'm not going to let her or him get away with everything, but I'm having more mercy on this one, and I'm going to teach them that these are our standards, and you are going to abide by our standards, which are God's standards. Okay, there's 5 reasons we discipline. There are many, but I'm just going to give you 5. 1 is wisdom. Proverbs 29:15. The rod and reproof give wisdom. We learn that to discipline our child is going to make them wise. And that's what we want for them. Proverbs 19:20. Hear counsel. And God is not only saying this to the child, but to me and to you, the parent, the mom. He hear counsel and receive instruction, that thou mayest be wise in thy latter end. You see, if your child resents you, they will not receive instruction. If you are punishing them, if that anger is exploding on them, they won't receive it. That's what happened to my youngest child with his father. And when you hear my testimony, you'll hear some things, I won't be too detailed on things I shouldn't, but you need to understand they won't receive your discipline because it's punishment. You're coming at them the wrong way. This other reason is not talked about in churches, but it is so important. To keep him or her from hell. Proverbs 23:13 and 14. Thou shalt beat him with the rod. That means strike. Remember, that's strike. It's not beating, okay? And thou shalt beat him with the rod and shall deliver his soul from hell. Why? Because he won't be a rebel. Number 3, he or her won't be a rebel. Number 3 reason is for your child to not shame you. God says that an undisciplined child, Proverbs 29:15, the rod and the reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself or herself brings his mother to shame. Why, moms? Because we are the disciplinarians. I am going to pray that you will just implement something this week. I love you, and I can see my time is up. I'm sorry. Have a wonderful Mother's Day. I dressed for Mother's Day, just to let you know. So I hope you have a wonderful one. God bless you for tuning into this class.